very good Saturday to you, fun seekers. Saturday, October the 27th, 1990. Lassiter with you at WLS Talk Radio 890.
You don't have to pay for the music, you know. You don't have to be so stingy with it. You can let it run underneath my voice.
Unbelievable. The people in there think that they were actually having to pay for it, note by note. Where was I yet? Yeah, sure, bring it back. I don't care. I love the song. Sure. Where was I? Yes, welcome to either... We haven't really decided for sure what to call this. It's either Lassiter's Lonely Hearts Club or the Saturday Night Special, where you and I come together at 9 o'clock on Saturday evening and learn somehow to deal with each other. Probably the best way to deal with each other would be to start the program with something that has become a tradition with me, not with you, but with me, where we ask you all to stand, where we ask you to bow your head, where we ask you to pay the proper touch of reverence as we recite the Lord's Pledge.
Right, our Father, who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. For thine is the kingdom come, thy will be done on earth as it is in heaven. One nation, under God, liberty, justice for all.
Brings tears to my eyes every time I hear it. I want you to take a good look around. I want you to look around your apartment. I want you to look around your house, your room, wherever it is. Maybe even look around your car if that's what it is. I'm serious. I want you to take a look around. At some point in the not-so-distant future, I don't know, maybe next week, maybe a year from now, but surely no more than 3, things will change drastically in your life, in your world. It will never be quite the same again. So I'd like you to look around and I'd like you to remember precisely what it is that you see tonight. Look out the window. Check out the neighborhood. Look up and down the street. Try to place houses with names. They likely will change. Maybe it'll be the Morgans across the street, or the Matieviches, or whoever that won't make it. Maybe it'll be you. That neighborhood's going to change. Because a lot of people who live there now won't be able to afford to live there very soon. I'm going to tell you things tonight that you don't want to hear. I'm going to tell you things that you're going to refuse to believe. I'm going to tell you things that are going to depress the hell out of you. I'm going to tell you things that government and industry leaders will absolutely, positively, unequivocally deny. Things that they will knowingly and willingly lie to you about because they're going to try to talk you out of something. They're going to try to make you see black when it's really white. White when it's really black. Take a look at your checkbook. At your savings account passbook. Pick them up, fondle them. Leaf through them. Try to memorize some of the numbers. Got money in there now? Probably won't be any sometime in the next 3 years. How long could you hold out if you lost your job? How long could you maintain something even remotely resembling your current standard of living? A year? 6 months? 3 months? 1 month? Look around at your house. The house that you worked so hard for. The house that holds all of your dreams. All of your good memories. Use your imagination. Can you see the Christmas tree over there in the corner? A table full of people at Thanksgiving. Maybe a graduation party or a birthday party. A house full of friends. Could you keep that house up if you had to take, let's say, a 25% reduction in your pay? How about 50%? Could you still keep up the mortgage payments? What if its value was cut in half? Yeah, what if your $100,000 house became a $50,000 house? What would that do to your plans for the future? For your kids' education? Or your own retirement, or both? Or maybe that dream of opening up your own business. What if you lost all of your equity in that house? What if it was suddenly worth less than you owe on it? Okay, so maybe you don't own a house. Maybe you rent. Could you afford to live there if your boss asked you to take a big cut in pay? Where would you move to? If you suddenly could only afford, let's say, 2/3 or only a half as much as you're paying now, I wonder what kind of neighborhood that would put you into, huh? Did you ever think about that? Probably not. Take a look at your holdings, maybe a mutual fund or a pension plan. Wonder how you'd react if it were all but wiped out overnight. How you'd deal with the loss of a lifetime's worth of security, a lifetime's worth of hard work. Wonder how you'd deal with that thing. Can you conceive of having your car repossessed? You can't. Well, suppose it came down to making the car payment or paying for a tank of heating oil. Which one do you think you'd choose in February? Take a look around the company that you work for. Things getting a little tight. Boss getting a little bit irritable, The profit margin strong? Earnings up or down? How about orders? Receipts? Collections? Are they starting to cut some corners around where you work? At my house, we have this basket. Keep it in a drawer in my desk, where we keep all of the bills. You probably have something similar to it at your place. Is it getting harder or easier to pay them every month? Are they all up to date right now? Because of the hike in the gas prices and the savings and loan bailout and tax increases, the cost of this fiasco in the Middle East, just to name a few, your household's going to suffer a drop in its standard of living. Maybe $500, maybe as much as $1,000 this coming year. Can you handle that? Is that going to have much of an effect? What percentage of your net income is that? Is it going to hurt? Will it cause real pain at your household? I'll bet you'd like to know the future, wouldn't you? Yeah. You ever glance at the horoscope in the newspaper? Bet you do. Unfortunately, you're reading the wrong section of the paper if you do. See, that's a bunch of crap. That's a bunch of hooey. If you really want to know the future, why don't you try reading the business section? Oh, my God, such interesting reading. It really is. Maybe you heard that the stock market was down again yesterday. Maybe you even recall how much. Can you? It was about 48 points, just a little bit over. They're meaningless numbers, aren't they? Numbers that have no real effect whatsoever on your life, right? Wrong. Oh, my God, you're so wrong. See, if you had read the business section this morning, you would have learned that, well, the main cause for that drop was the decline in the so-called money center stocks. That's Wall Street talk for the banks. The big banks. You would have learned that the guys who still have the bucks are bailing out of the bank stocks, bailing out in a hurry. I mean, like a real hurry. Why? Because they don't like what they see. That's why. Oh, they see all kinds of things they don't like. What is it they see? Well, one of the things they see is your $2,500 Visa bill. It scares the hell out of them because they know that you can just barely make it now. And if you lose another $500 or $1,000 a year in taxes and higher energy costs and that kind of stuff, it's going to be a hell of a lot harder for you to pay that Visa bill. They see that. They see when your mortgage seems to be consistently 5 to 10 days late. That scares them. They see your car loan, that $11,000 car that's only worth $9,000. They see your savings account that has steadily dropped or has just stopped growing. They see your employer's balance, too, and they see that it's shrinking. In other words, they're adding up 2 and 2, and they don't like the answer because it doesn't add up. They look at the horrendous national debt, the never-ending annual deficit. They see that 1 out of every 5 tax dollars is going to pay the interest on the debt. They see foreign nations less and less thrilled about financing our budget. They see the corporate takeover army scrambling to pay their creditors. And every month, there are fewer who can. They see consumer debt hitting new all-time highs and net income heading in the other direction. They read about major corporations with lower net earnings, and they read about those very same corporations cutting their workforces. 500 here, 1,500 there, 12,000, 42,000. It all adds up, What's that up to? Well, it adds up to fewer customers, lower earnings still, more layoffs, and on and on and on and on it goes. It also adds up to more delinquent visa bills and late car loans and late mortgage payments, more outright defaults. It adds up to a loss in consumer confidence, which means fewer new washing machines being bought, fewer new cars, less money for Christmas, doing about all those other little things in life, like the new braces for Johnny, or maybe putting off Susie's dancing lessons. Starting to get the picture? Starting to understand why it was down 48 points yesterday? And keep in mind that the administration, with their budget, takes none of these things that I just talked about into consideration. So there will be fewer tax dollars coming in. There'll be more deficits, more debt, more interest payments, and probably higher taxes, which means it'll be harder for you to pay your visa bill and your car loan and that kind of stuff. They see that too. They see the Japanese in real big trouble, and the possibility that they will have to dump their American holdings in order to prop up their own economy, which means real pressure on things like real estate and taxes and bonds and interest rates and that kind of stuff here at home. They see the Germans taking on an incredibly expensive burden with reunification. They see more unrest than ever in the Middle East, meaning the prospect for markedly higher energy costs well into the future, which means things like tighter earnings, more layoffs, fewer customers, more defaults. Is it becoming more clear yet? Yesterday, some guy just absolutely scared out of his wits looked at all of this stuff. He said, oh my God, I gotta go, oh. And so he sold his bank stock. He found some fool to take it off his hands. This major bank stock for $11 a share. That same stock 2 years ago sold for near to 40. Wonder what happens next month when the fool who bought it yesterday notices that his bank stock is down to 10. And he decides to cut his losses, but he can't find another fool. And the bank that lent him the money to buy its stock, well, it needs to raise some cash now because you're late on your Visa account. So they call in the loan, forcing a fire sale of the stock, driving the bank stock down to maybe 7. And that scares the hell out of the Widows and Orphans Fund. So they bail out, and that drives the price down to 4. And then your pension plan, which is holding an awful lot of that stock, the stock in the bank, it needs to sell some of it because it has to make good on your pension check. Well, it could go down to 3. And if it does, that should panic just about all the other holders. And God only knows it could go down to damn near nothing. There are people seeing this going on, and so they start to get uncomfortable having their money in that bank, and they start moving it out, reducing the bank's assets considerably. The bank examiner notices all of this. He demands that the bank clean up its act. It can't. So the FDIC takes it over, and the market sees a big bank go under, says, well, if that big bank went under, a lot of others probably could, and so the spiral continues. The FDIC looks to Congress to bail out the depositors. Congress obliges, of course, and they turn to you. Higher taxes result. Your standard of living goes down. You have less money to buy things. That causes yet another squeeze on earnings. Causes more people still to be laid off, and on and on and on it goes. So take a good look around you tonight. Because things are never going to be as they are for much longer. The odds are overwhelming that you won't escape. Maybe you won't be hit the hardest, but you won't escape untouched. You won't escape undamaged. That $75,000 home that you bought, 10, 12 years ago? The one that you think is worth $200,000 tonight could be a $50,000 home next year. Think I'm kidding? You could probably live with that, I guess, especially if you've been paying on it for 12 years. But what if you got suckered into one of those home equity loans, and let's say you owe $125,000 on it? I don't know, maybe you could live with that too. But how about Mr. Morgan across the street? Maybe he can't live with that. Maybe he'll just move out in the middle of the night one of these days. And that nice lawn goes to seed, and then the shingles start to blow off the roof, and then maybe some drug users break in. You get the picture again, don't you? Could be that maybe one of these days the boss is going to call everybody into the conference room. He's going to say, look, people, times are tough, you know, but we don't want to let anybody go. You know, we're a people-oriented company, so this is what I propose. We either have to let 25% of you go, 1 in 4 of you, or you all have to agree to a 25% pay cut. Which one's it going to be? How in the hell did things get to this point? Well, frankly, there isn't any simple answer. But here are some of the reasons. Well, first and foremost, we are a nation of people who want an awful lot of things from the government, but we don't want to pay for them. Now, some of us wanted battleships, and some of us wanted next to free medical care in our golden years, and some of us wanted well-stocked fishing holes, and some of us wanted more in military pensions than we earned while we were in uniform, and some of us wanted to be more generous with the poor, and some of us wanted to teach tin-horn dictators a lesson in Central America or wherever we found them. The list is absolutely endless of what we want from the government, but none of us wanted to pay for it. Secondly, some of us not only did not want to pay for it, didn't want to pay for what we were getting, they wanted to pay even less. Men like Ron Reagan and George Bush. So they put together a coalition of anti-abortionists and gun nuts and right-wing loonies and 55-mile-an-hour speed limit freaks and the Bible thumpers and the rednecks and the nigger haters, and they took over. And they cut themselves such a sweetheart deal on taxes like you couldn't believe. And then they funneled an absolute ton of money to themselves with military hardware contracts and housing schemes and regulation schemes. And they had a grand old time. For 10 years, they've had a grand old time not paying for what they got and taking as much as they possibly could. Well, that pretty much explains the government end of it, but the private sector was just as busy unraveling the ball as well while all of this was going on. Hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of billions of dollars were used by industry not to build new factories, not to retool, not to modernize, not for research and development, not for product improvement, but instead it was used to speculate in the stock of another company. They called them takeovers. Huge amounts of money were borrowed to buy a competitor. Or maybe somebody that wasn't even a competitor, a totally different industry. It didn't make any difference to them. All that money tied up that could have been creating jobs was in essence losing jobs. It also drove up interest rates. Thoughtless and short-sighted managers saw the possibility of squeezing out a few more pennies in profit by making their products overseas. So they closed the plants here. Shifted the jobs to foreign companies. They let go the people whose jobs they eliminated were the people who buy the products in this country. And then there were the yuppies. God loved the yuppies driving into work in the morning in their fine and shiny BMW automobiles with their cute little mustaches and their cute little yuppie suspenders. Brought with them their cute little MBA diplomas and hung them on the wall, and they sat down behind their polished desks, and they got out their little computers and their sharp pencils, and they started doing some calculating away, and pretty soon they figured out that they put the company's money into a brand new factory that, well, maybe they could get a 9.13% return on investment, but if they put that very same money into bonds for Donald Trump's newest casino, they could get 14.29% return. What the poor young fools forgot was that Trump was counting on the guys who would have worked at that new factory to patronize the casino. And lo and behold, Trump can't make the payments on the bonds. And you play a part in all of this as well. That video camera. Yeah, you know, the one that you just had to have, the one that you hardly ever touch now. That's at about $1,000 in Japan, $1,000 that could have been invested right here. And that shirt, you know, the one made in Taiwan, the one, you know the one I mean, the one that never quite laid right. The one that was $2 cheaper than that union-made shirt. That shirt that put a seamstress out of work. And then there's that foreign car that was, much better than that American-made car. You know, the one that's sitting on the driveway rusting now. The one where if you don't start it every day, you have to take a can of gas, the one that usually keeps the gas into the lawnmower and pour it into the carburetor. Yeah, that farm-made car, that very well-made farm car. Or maybe that big screen TV that you bought. You know, the one that you put on your Visa card. The one that you sit in front of night after night while saying that, geez, there's never anything worth watching on television, Marge. That one. Not only did you ship more money overseas, but you borrowed it. Signing up a couple of grand that could have been used here at home to, do things like create jobs. Remember when you voted for that politician who was going to raise the 55-mile-an-hour speed limit, but instead you went along with the plan to cut taxes for the rich and increase yours? Or the politician, the one who was going to fight for your right to have a gun, even though it's never been in jeopardy, but instead fought for the right of the savings and loans to speculate with and lose untold billions and billions and billions of dollars to repay. Do you remember voting for him? Remember how when Mondale told you that things like this would happen, you voted for the goofball who went around telling you that the only problems we really had were the commies in Nicaragua and the welfare queens driving all those Cadillacs in Chicago? You know, one of his most ardent supporters was just fined something like $600 million for wrongdoing. But he still had $500 million left over from doing what he got fined for. Remember how you went along with the space shield and the invisible bomber, never asking any questions? Okay, Mr. President, if you say with these little space shield there, it's okay with me. And while we were spending our money on that, the Japanese were developing a high-definition television. You'll be wanting one of them pretty soon. But they won't be in the market for your space shield. Remember how you didn't say a word when they shut down the Synthetic Fuels Corporation? That's one of the reasons you're paying so much for gasoline now. It's also one of the reasons that maybe you know somebody sitting over in the desert tonight. And most of you are convinced that you're so much better off today than you were 10 years ago. But how much more do you owe today than back then? And if things are so much better for you, then how come you're planning on spending less for Christmas this year? How come you're taking shorter vacations? And how come you're sweating so much? Buckled in there? Okay. I'll ask you a question. You have to answer as quickly as you possibly can. Are you ready? On your mark? Get set. Go. How many years are left of Mike Ditka's contract? Oh, very impressed. Okay, here's the second question now. You ready? Get set. Your mark. Go. Can you tell me what your share of the national debt is? I didn't think you could. I think this is the last year on Ditka's contract. Who in the hell gives a damn except Mike? But your share of the national debt is $12,000. So you and your wife, 24. You and your wife and your kids, $36,000. You and your wife and your two kids, $48,000 this year. You can add another $1,000 per head by the end of this coming fiscal year. That's your share of the national debt. You didn't know that, did you? But I'll bet you knew how many years were left on Mike Ditka's contract. Which one makes a hell of a lot more difference to you? Which one has a real effect on your life? You will have to pay the $48,000, by the way. One way or another. You're either going to pay it in taxes or you're going to pay it in a decreased standard of living. So take a real good look around you tonight. Look around the house. Look in the mirror. Look up and down the street. Look at the old family scrapbook and photo album. Because things will never be quite the same as they are tonight. Things will never be the same as they are tonight. Yeah, there are ways around. Frankly, there are ways to make a killing in the days ahead. But frankly, you ain't swift enough to pull it off. Let alone to understand that it involves options and futures and timing and cycles and support and resistance and all that kind of stuff. And besides, what the hell, you don't believe me anyway. not because what I'm saying, these are bills, and they all pay rent and mortgages and taxes too, by the way. And they eat in restaurants, and they buy shoes, and they buy washing machines, and they buy cars, or at least they used to. That's why the stock market went down 48 points yesterday. Of course, it may not go down on Monday, could go up. Not because things have improved, but because companies like mine will take their money and buy their own stock in order to prop it up. They do things like that, you know. A lot of executives own stock, and they get real unhappy when it goes down. Too bad they don't understand why it does. Too bad that they don't understand that that kind of stuff only makes it go down further and faster. Tragedy, we don't understand that. You know, it's almost enough to make you giggle when you hear big-shot executives and high-level government officials trying to deny what's going on, saying things like, well, I don't know, maybe we'll have a mild recession this year. With their little fingers crossed. You know, they all said the same thing back in 1929. If you picked up the editorial page from the Wall Street Journal in 1929 and you read it, you would think that you were reading what was written in 1990. By the way, the key phrase to watch out for you. You know, I frequently tell you to do things like mark this one down. I'm really going to tell you to mark this one down. Because there's a phrase that you're going to hear, and you're going to hear it relatively soon. And when you hear that phrase, and it will be the exact same words that I'm giving you. When you hear that phrase, then you're going to know things are really bad, and you're going to know these guys are really, really scared. And the phrase is, I really do wish you'd write this one down and put it under your pillow or something, you know, check it out. And, well, a month, 6 months, a year, whenever you hear it. The phrase is, the economy is fundamentally sound. They will use that phrase when they know that it's already gone to hell in a handbasket, but they can't figure out why. It will never dawn on them that when they were trying to protect those profits and laid off all of those people and eliminated all those customers, they sealed their own fate. And they're going to sit there and they're going to look at their pieces of paper and they're going to say, well, geez, I don't understand, you know, golly gee. The economy is fundamentally sound. Except it isn't. They won't be able to see the things that they did. They won't be able to see their speculation, their greed, their short-sightedness, their selfishness, their stupidity. That's what brought it on. And guess what? Yeah, of course, they're going to turn to you to bail them out. Only, you won't be able to. Not this time. The world's going to change. Change quickly. Change drastically. Do you remember how fast Eastern Europe unraveled? Remember how fast things changed in the Soviet Union? How fast things got out of hand in the Middle East? What makes you think that this country can't do the same? What makes you think that the America of 1992 or 1993 or 1995 won't be all but unrecognizable from the America of tonight? Well, we're a bad credit risk. We're grossly overextended. We show no willingness whatsoever to pay our debts. We spend way too much on the military. We spend too much on welfare for the wealthy. On and on and on and on and on. We're a nation so corrupt we tax the minimum wage earners so that millionaires can be sent large checks every month and have 3/4 of their medical bills taken care of by Medicare. So we're in such pathetic shape that we rejoice in the opening of an overseas hamburger stand. Oh my God, we built a McDonald's in Moscow! And we call it proof of our success, proof of the success of our system. Hamburger stand. And idiots like Rush Limbaugh enjoy nationwide audiences to try to tell the people that what they see happening all around them isn't really happening, but only some kind of an illusion perpetrated by the liberals. Yeah, the liberals. That's it. Every year, hundreds and hundreds of thousands of people come to our shores. Some of them legally, some of them not legally, but you know, they all come for one reason. They all come for one reason. It's not because we have freedom of expression or a representative form of government or because everybody votes nor because our justice system is unequal in the world. They come because they dream of being rich. Filthy, damned rich. That's why they come. They don't read the business section either. They don't come because some Americans still fight for equality and civil rights. They come because some Americans still fight for the right to enrich themselves at anyone's expense, no matter the consequences. Long-term, short-term, intermediate term, doesn't make any difference. That's why they come. They come to be with people just like themselves. Problem is we've overdone it. Problem is that we can't put off paying the bill any longer. So look around you tonight. It ain't going to be the same for much longer. Okay, the odds are you're not going to lose your job. The odds are you're not going to lose your house. The odds are that you're not going to end up sleeping in a cardboard box in Grant Park. I mean, hell, even in the Great Depression of the 1929, 1930 era, one in four Americans was unemployed. 3 in 4 were employed. But I don't like those odds. Shoot, they're not good odds. And even if you don't lose your job, you'll probably take a cut in salary. And even if you don't take a cut in salary, the value of damn near everything you own is going to go down. All of your equity is going to go down the drain. Unless you're very, very lucky, unless you're very, very savvy, unless you know, genuinely and truly know how to prosper in a down market. Maybe it's because you will have to leave them behind. Maybe they'll have to abandon you just to survive. Maybe it'll be for still yet another reason that neither of us has thought of. Oh, this is doom and gloom, Lassiter. I can't handle this. It can't happen. It won't happen. Oh, really? Really? If you'd like to know the future, better study the past. If you want to know the future, maybe you better look at the present day realistically. You live in what you believe to be the richest country on the face of the earth, don't you? The richest country on the face of the earth. Boy, I want you to think about something. You haven't paid attention to any of the monologues at this point. Would you please pay attention to the next minute, 2 minutes? Will you paper this morning? Hope you did. God, there was an interesting article in there. Kind of sums up the whole damn thing. I don't know, maybe you caught it, maybe you didn't. I think it was like on page 3 of the Sun-Times. Had a little picture of this, very common little house somewhere in South Dakota, and it was talking about $500,000 that some congressman once appropriated to fix up the house and to build a little museum and a tourist trap thing there. It's Lawrence Welk's birthplace or boyhood home, whatever the hell it is. Who knows? Who cares? A lot of people are listening to a lot of liberal claptrap, a bunch of nonsense. Ain't never going to happen. No way. And I'm sure that a lot of folks think that it's dangerous to talk about it like if we didn't mention it, then maybe it just wouldn't happen. And I'm also sure that a lot of you had no idea of what I just said. Well, what did he say? Well, what's he, some kind of a communist or something? And, of course, there's the, why doesn't he ever have anything good to say about America's crowd? Well, I'm going to surprise you. Well, the market was off 48 points yesterday. I made a little over $1,000. And it probably came from your pension fund or your IRA or maybe, hell, maybe your mutual fund. And I'm going to use it to buy your house out from underneath you next year or maybe the year after that. And I'm loving it. God bless America, where it's okay to take advantage of the fools and the foolish. God bless America. Where I've had to spend 10 years of my life watching people do one stupid thing after another. And where I will get to see them pay for it in spades. The only regret I have is that, a lot of people who are not responsible for it will also have to pay. That's one of the things I don't like about my country. It has no conscience. It has no mercy. It doesn't like to share the good times, but demands that the bad times be shared by all. I never got to ride on Mr. Trump's yacht, but I'm going to have to pay the price for his assault. And so will you. Let me give you the telephone number, okay? Thanks.
I mean, I'm thinking when I'm looking in my house, I don't see what I'm going to have in 5 years from now, let alone next week.
Great. I'm glad to hear that.
I mean, you can't...
I'll get it.
Excuse me?
I'll get it.
And how are you going to get it?
When you leave it.
And how? You're so sure that I'm going to lose my job?
Yep.
Well, you know, you picture paint such a gloom and doom picture, but never, ever.
Well, instead of telling me, how horrible I am as a forecaster, why don't you zero in on a few specifics where I'm wrong?
A few specifics where you're wrong?
I mean, I've never noticed an echo here before yet, but a few specifics where I'm wrong.
Are the talk show hosts just never give ideas of your own? If you're that you're as we tell
I'm going to ask again, why don't you zero in?
Okay, I'll give you
things
one
that I've said.
In fact, I'll even give you an example of how we can change everything. We could all be like you and bail out and file bankruptcy, jerk.
Somebody always shrinks from tough questions. Like, what day of the week is it? McHenry, hi, you're on the air, WLS.
Hi, Bob.
Hi, fine, thank you.
Well, I've been saying a lot of the same things for the past few years. Not as eloquent. We started doing the right things right now. I don't
Impossible.
I don't know.
It's impossible. I mean, keep in mind, the only reason I'm picking on Capital Cities ABC is because, I work here, I have a contract, I can get away with it, and I don't have to slander anybody else, because this is not an uncommon thing. Keep in mind what my company is doing. They've got $1 billion in the bank. The profits are down a little bit, so they're laying off people left and right, which means they're eliminating customers, and they can't see it.
Right.
They don't realize it. They're not talking about accepting smaller profits. They're not talking about cutting dividends. They're not talking about dipping into the cash to keep people working. They're talking about limiting customers, and they don't know it. What are you going to do?
I don't know.
That's the common thinking today. Almost every day in the business section, you read about a major corporation letting 1,500 people go, 12,000 people go. Almost every day.
Well, there are commodities. Just
Yep.
like all the other commodities they deal with.
Plug-in modules. They don't look at them as human beings.
Mm-hmm.
But a lot of other people look at them as people who can't pay their Visa cards. They're
Right.
scared. Real scared.
Yeah.
Such is life.
Well, I thank you for at least putting it out on the table in terms that at least some of us find very difficult to ignore.
Thank you much.
Thank you.
Wheaton, hi there. Wheat, you're on the air for WLS.
Yeah, hi, Bob.
Hi.
My call was about Bush's new income tax package.
Mm-hmm.
I voted for Bush in the last election, and one of the things that really is starting to bear, I really feel that the people making over $100,000 should bear a larger part of the burden.
Well, I make over $100,000 a year, and I don't.
You don't feel that?
Nope. No, I don't. But I'll tell you what should happen. The shortfall between what comes in and what goes out in this country on the federal level is so great that no amount of taxation can make up for it. It is so much money. We're talking about $250 billion a year. The only thing that we can do is cut $250 billion worth of spending. That's the only thing we can do. You can't raise taxes high enough. This is smoke and mirrors, man.
No, you're right. You're talking about expenditures there, and I'm talking about, the taxation, the way we raise the money.
Yeah.
My only question is, the people that make $15,000, $20,000 a year should pay part of the burden because they
have a far greater stake in all of the things that the government does.
If you have a greater stake and more to protect, then you ought to pay more for it also.
Oh yeah, I agree with that. I think you misunderstood. I was being slightly facetious when I said, no, you think I'm happy about? I'm going to have to cough up another $4 to $6 grand this year in taxes. I'm not happy about that. That doesn't please me in the muffy at all, and especially when it doesn't really do any good. If it did good, Is it totally eliminated the deficit? Then I'd say, okay, because I'm going to benefit from that. Just as everyone else would. But I would benefit from it even more. This is smoke and mirrors. They for one more year, and they'll probably do it again next year, and the year after that, the year after that. But for one more year, they have put off the real problem in this country, spending. And we're not talking about $600 hammers or $154 a month checks to Negro women who have babies. That's not where the majority of the spending goes, or anywhere near a majority. We're talking about military. We're talking about pensions. We're talking about debt service. That's the overwhelming majority of our expenditures. That's where the cuts have come from.
Right.
And we just keep putting it off and putting it off.
Yeah, I agree with you there.
So that's why I'm not happy about paying more tax. Hello there, neighbor. You're on the air, WLS.
Hi, Bob. How you doing?
Fine, thank you.
Good. Bob, you sound scared looking at the future.
Well, what did you do?
Well, Bob, yeah, you know what really scares me the most is that there actually might be someone out there listening to you that believes you. Yeah.
Okay, well, let's get down to specifics now. What did I say?
That the Dow Jones Industrial Average will be at 600. That will have 25% unemployment.
Okay.
What do you base that on, Bob? What specific economic indicators, what specifically today do you base that dramatic of a swing except for a panic? The only thing that could cause the top would be a panic.
Oh, really?
And that's what you're trying to cause here tonight.
Oh, that's what I'm trying to cause tonight. Yes, I'm talking to a lot of people who are very large industrial, or very large institutional stock holders, yes. Cause a panic is 20 minutes after 10 at WLS.
Well,
yes. Cause a panic is 20 minutes after 10 at WLS.
Well, it's people like you, Bob.
Well, I'll tell you what, $600 figure, it's really quite simple. If you want to do that charting, if you want to know about history, then you'll know that's what the support is. You'll know that from 600 up to 3,000, it's damn near a straight line, which then go right back down to 600.
Well, Bob, the only way the market will drop that much is if there is panic.
Okay.
And unfounded talk like yours is what could potentially create that.
Right.
Okay? And,
Any other strong points of disagree?
Well, the other point you talked about, companies, laying off people. Companies have to operate efficiently to compete in the market-driven environment.
Mm-hmm.
And if they don't operate efficiently, then the companies will go bankrupt.
Mm-hmm.
Then they will have to lay off everyone.
Mm-hmm.
And then everyone will be without jobs, and then we will have that. I'm a firm believer in the American people, the entrepreneurial spirit, and our free enterprise market.
And wishful thinking.
Well, maybe I just have more faith in the average American person and the working people of this country than you do. But I think you're right, Bob. You're predicting your call at the beginning of the show, and the people who don't like your gloom and doom predictions, because they're just nothing more than cheap ploys to increase your rating.
Right.
And I think
exactly.
to hurt
increase my rating.
the American people and try to brainwash people into believing that so they don't go out and buy a house tomorrow. All the people that are listening to you that have houses for sale, they can thank you, Bob, when people are afraid.
No, sir. They can thank the fact that people can't afford them because of interest rates, because of guys like Trump, because of government policies.
Because of the Democratic Congress?
No, not the Democratic Congress.
Yes,
because of the government, period.
Yes, and mostly the Democratic Congress
yes,
that has been doing all the spending over the years.
Looking for the boogeyman, aren't you?
I'm not looking for the boogeyman. I'm just saying the reason. You're right, Bob.
The Democratic Congress and Bob Lassiter's talk show that's going to send this country into a depression. It has nothing whatsoever to do with guys like you who refuse to look at reality.
Yeah, Bob, that's right. It's
me and the Democratic Congress, solely responsible.
Not solely responsible, but that's the Democratic Congress. Bob, why do you choose to ignore that time and time again?
What, Regina? Are you serious? Oh, my God, we're getting reports now of stockbrokers' offices from one end of the country to the other being inundated with calls from my listeners trying to sell their stocks.
Well, actually, Bob, I'm buying.
Great, fantastic.
I believe that the market is going up. I believe that now that we've had the budget I believe that the market will be up Monday, and at the end of...
Yeah, I believe it will, too. That's why I took my foots off.
Okay, well, at the end
I'll put them back on Tuesday at the end of the market.
At the end of 91, the market will be higher than it is today.
Sure it will.
What...
Based upon what, sir? Wishful thinking?
No, it's not based on wishful thinking.
Close your eyes, click your heels together, and wish the market would go. Wish the market would go.
Well, Bob, how do you... Evidently you wish it would go down because you're selling short or something.
No, I'm not selling shorts. That's that's a ridiculous move.
Well...
Foolish game.
At any rate, Bob, let's talk about
Complicated.
the issues.
Sure.
Let's talk about the compulsive spending of the Democratic Congress over the last 10 years, but it puts this country in the position it is
The
today.
compulsive spending of the Democratic Congress as guided by George Bush and Ronald Reagan.
Well, you know...
Can you think of one, over the last 10 years, sir, can you think of one major Democratic boondoggling spending program? One.
Almost every expenditure this country's made.
Which one, sir? Name one.
All areas...
Name one, sir. Name one Democratic boondoggling expenditure.
Social programs.
Social. Well, name one, sir. You can't, can you? No, you can't. Because there isn't one, sir. It's a bunch of crap. Would you like to hear some Republican boondoggling spending programs?
I'm not saying the Republicans are.
I can name two offhand. Would you like to hear some?
Go ahead, Bob.
The Stupid Defense Initiative and the Invisible Bomber.
I agree.
Republican all the way.
I agree, sir. Absolutely. I believe that what we need is an attitude in Congress that if a dollar should be spent, the decision to be made whether a dollar should be spent is absolutely, utterly, totally, and unequivocally necessary that we spend that dollar. And if it is not, that dollar should not be spent. And any program that cannot meet up to that litmus test should not be voted for.
Well, sir, anybody that can't stand up to the reality that it's both Democrats and Republicans who have done this to us, anybody that still tries to hang it on the liberal Democratic Congress ain't playing with a full deck. You keep buying, sir. You keep buying. You keep running those prices up so that I can see those chart signals every 14 days and come in with puts and take your money away.
Oh, good, because I'm making money right now, Bob, and I hope you do have a
Sure you are.
House when it goes into foreclosure. Good day.
Right, sir. You're making money. What do you do, sir? Own a credit counseling service? Not the only people making serious money today. 10:26 the time. WLS Talk Radio 890. Monday morning, a little bit too much for Rush Limbaugh, sir. I have to read the newspaper for a change.
Well, I'll tell you what I think when I speak to them, maybe now I can put you in something. Liberals and the Democratic Congress are the ones that put the taxes on this entire country.
Dangerous crowd in this country than members of Congress. A crowd that's far more responsible for our problems than members of Congress. And, you know, my bosses will just love this. It's the management team in this country. Not the guys that you work for, not the guys that I work for, but the guys that they work for. The ones who sit in the boardrooms, the ones who make the decisions, the bean counters who decide that ladies, single ladies who are trying to buy a house and raise a kid, are dispensable. They're not faces. They're not human beings. They're numbers. They're plug-in modules. The ones who don't quite understand that when they lay people off, they are laying off customers. They're the ones who have done the most damage in this country.
And when you look at, there's so many companies out there, or even I just look at my dad, who was raised in the ghetto. He never had any money, but he had enough common sense to be able to get himself educated, and even though he was just a teacher, history teacher before there were unions, he never made more than $19,000 when he retired. But he has a beautiful home, everything's paid for. And I think, why don't we just put some people who you can look at their lives and say they know how to manage money. They know how, unlike me, because when I lost my job, I had to go out and charge a new outfit, to go to the club. So, I feel like we have all kinds of people in government who are like me, and we need people like my dad.
Ooh, very good analogy. Dan, good analogy. Yeah, I wish we did have a Congress full of butchers and bakers and candlestick makers. If that's what I thought we would get, then I'd say, all right, dump the rascal.
Yeah.
But we won't. That's not what we'll get.
But don't you think we're going to just end up with more of the same?
Yes, absolutely. And on top of that, we will end up throwing out a couple of guys like your dad.
Yeah, exactly. And I love your idea. I often don't agree with you, although I always listen to you. But I really like your idea about Social Security for the rich people who don't need it.
Well, we're talking about $25 billion a year.
Yeah. So you have common sense. Why don't they let people like some of us make decisions? But you're right. Bottom line, if you ran, or if that other guy, who's that guy that's...
Well, I'm going to tell you the truth. When first time someone suggested to me that I run for Congress was about 5 years ago. I was making $18,000 a year, and to be really glib, I said, I'm sorry, sir, I can't afford the job. Well, I'm telling you right now, I can't afford the job, and I ain't being glib. One of the problems that we have is that when it comes to public service, we feel as though people should sacrifice to serve us. There are a hell of a lot of people serving in Congress now who are currently earning $89,500 and get a big raise in January. It'll take them to about $120, I think. I'm not really clear on that. I know there's going to be a difference between Congress and Senate this time around in pay. But there are a hell of a lot of people in Congress who could never earn that kind of money in private industry because they ain't sharp enough. But there are a hell of a lot of people in private industry who are earning $300,000, $400,000, $500,000, $700,000, $1 million, $2 million a year who are sharp enough but ain't going to go to work for $120. And that's one of the problems we have.
But there's much people like my dad who would never see that kind of money, would be thrilled.
It's a pretty stupid idea, lady. But also off the top of my head, I'm going to say maybe the Lassiter becomes worthless.
Well, what about those people that stole all those trees and those places for a long time?
What about people?
Why haven't they been put in jail?
Because nobody stole it, sir. They squandered it. Big difference.
Well, it disappeared.
Yes, sir, that's right, it disappeared.
And ain't gonna do nothing about it.
Well, sir, it wasn't stolen. It was stupidity. We still don't jail people in this country for stupidity, which is good because the jails would be overflowing if we did.
You got no room for them now, right?
Whatever, sir. 591-8900, 591-8900. Black Claire, you're on the air at WLS.
Mr. Lassiter, I have a couple questions for you this evening.
Sure.
If your predictions come true and the economy is devastated, who's going to pay your salary? Because nobody will be able to afford to buy the products of your sponsors.
I beg your pardon, I'll have to lay off file clerks and accountants to pay my salary and my salary.
Well, who will be buying your products if the economy collapses as you say it's going to, as you prognosticate that the Dow Jones will be down to 600 and 25% of people get unemployed? Who's going to be able to afford to buy your products?
The other three-quarters of the people, sir.
Oh, really? Oh, so they're all, if in a time of depression, the first thing that's going to be on their mind is to buy a car phone when in a state of depression, instead of
No, sir, they won't buy car
feed
phones.
themselves.
No, sir, they won't buy car phones. They'll be buying Campbell's soup, and Campbell's soup will advertise on this.
You know, and all these people who call up and agree with the lovable Lassiter about how he's right and this guy's filing bankruptcy and this one's going to lose their house, people shouldn't buy over their heads. That's if they were smart and they had more money in the bank and didn't have a $1,500 a month mortgage payment. People can't see 2 feet in front of them, Bob. That's the problem.
That's part of the problem. Yes, it is. I agree.
You know, everybody's so quick to, once they start making some money, to go out and spend and spend and spend.
Well, that's what they're encouraged to do, sir.
And who encourages them?
Business and government.
Business and government.
Yes.
You know, how come all these people who have called and said that the Democratic Congress has had their hands in things, you show up and say, no, it's always George Bush or Ronald Reagan.
No, sir, it's both.
Oh, Jimmy Carter, of course, had nothing. He was the greatest president we've ever had.
No, I never said that.
Well, I
said he was the most decent man who ever held office.
Well, decency isn't going to put food on either one of our tables, is it?
Probably not, sir.
Well, you know, you say all these nice things about Jimmy Carter, but...
No, I don't say all these nice things about Jimmy Carter.
Nobody could afford to do anything during the Carter era.
Oh, really?
Especially with defense, because we didn't have enough guts to stand up to those Iranians.
Oh.
See, because...
You mean like we don't have like we still don't have enough guts to stand up to the Iranians?
No, we do have guts to stand up to people. But
remember Ronald Reagan on his first day in office said, under my administration, there will not be not one American held hostage. He went out of office, sir, with 8 Americans held hostage by the Iranians and didn't say a word about it.
And, well, we took care of Gaddafi, didn't we? That was one.
Oh, did we?
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Do you hear much of him anymore?
No, sir. Do you know why you don't hear much about him anymore?
He's doing it behind everybody's back.
No, sir, because the State Department isn't telling lies about him to justify bombing runs. That's why you don't hear about him.
That's just a typical liberal.
No, it's not a typical liberal, sir. It happens to be the truth.
Well, you always, every time we do something, it's
Yes, it's typically liberal, sir, to tell the truth.
It's all propaganda. Everybody was lying.
Sir, the State Department admitted to you that they made up things about Gaddafi. They admitted it publicly. I guess you missed the paper that day.
He was a saint. Gaddafi was a saint.
Right, sir, yes, I'm saying Gaddafi was a saint, yes. Probably the second most decent man behind Jimmy Carter. It's too bad he's not president.
Well, I mean, I don't understand. Every time we do something, you're always second-guessing. You talk about, you give all these brilliant brainstorms, all these brilliant ideas, and then when people call you up and say, oh, run for office, you joke. You say, oh, I couldn't afford the pay cut. Well, if you believe
I don't joke about that anymore, sir. I used to joke about it. I no longer do.
If you believe in this country so much and you care so much about my welfare, Bob, why don't you take a good faith effort and do it?
Sir,
why don't you take the pay cut?
Sir, why in God's name should I want to represent you?
Monday morning.
We split our steel. The county didn't make an inspection, and now everybody's trying to hide everybody else. Mm-hmm. We just got the OSHA fines as of yesterday. They totaled over $50,000.
Well, this sounds like a problem for Bruce Williams. Wait a second. Hold on. Don't go away.
Hey, Bruce? Bruce, got a call for you. Well, how much longer are you going to be? Oh, my God. What do you think did that? The burritos? Oh, what shall I tell the guy? Oh, okay. Hope you're feeling better.
Sir, Bruce said he's going to need about another 10 minutes, and could you call back later? Off it is to,
And I think that the listeners are tired of the smoking mirrors approach to avoiding the fact that Democrats have historically and always will be the Jackson side of the
yeah, just like they override all insurance, which is the
outside
liberal Democrats, but not the conservative, liberal Democrats.
the Democratic
Get off my phone, you jerk. You don't know what the hell you're talking about. You don't belong on the show. The South Side is the South Side here at WLS. Hello, South Side.
Hello?
Yeah.
Southside?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Hey, this is Southside Chicago.
I know.
Now, what you said, look, I don't have no crystal ball either. But what you said made a lot of sense. Things got to change. And not only do things have to change, but what you said is totally right. Okay, Bush, and we got to pay for the oldest. We got to flare up the people of the United States, promote ideas.
Sir, I was referring to the Michael Milliken kind of fools and the Donald Trump kind of fools.
Oh, well, okay.
But amazingly enough, it is George Bush that thinks we should take money out of your check to help them. Tells you an awful lot, doesn't it?
Oh, definitely. I agree with everything you've been saying, man.
Do not have the $500,000 for Lawrence Welk's boyhood home. Tells you an awful lot, doesn't it?
Oh, definitely. I agree with everything you've been saying, man.
Thank you, my friend.
Hey, no problem.
Be good. 59189.
So if you buy something, it costs you 1%. You sell something, it costs you 1%. Basic, simple, pure, that's it.
Sure, rich people love ideas like that. Very regressive.
Well,
tax.
what's wrong with it?
What's wrong with it? Well, it cuts my taxes. I'm a rich guy. It cuts my taxes tremendously. I love that idea. Muffy love that one.
Sounds great. It would cut
Sure, it
everything,
sounds
wouldn't
great for us. No, it wouldn't.
Explain.
Well, sir, people.
And I'm not trying.
People who don't have people who don't have any money left at the end of the week, like most working people in this country, that 1% really hurts them. People like me who have tons of money left over at the end of the week, I hardly notice it.
It seems to me that if it was costing me 20% ordinarily, because that's what we pay, 20, 30%, depending on what tax bracket we're in, that if we only paid 1%, we'd have at least a minimum of 25% left over.
Right, sir. Oh, it'd be fantastic for me. Just fantastic.
Why couldn't it work?
Well, I just told you so.
I missed it. I'm sorry.
Flat rate taxes are extremely regressive. Now, how about a 15% income tax? Would you like that?
Well, it's probably better than what we have now.
Oh, sure it is. It's great to me. It'd cut my taxes right in half. It'll leave the taxes of the working person precisely where they are. Oh, I'd love a flat 15% tax. My God, Muffy, I could buy her for coats and more jewelry.
No, but what would be good for you?
Oh, probably save me about, $35,000 a year. Maybe more.
Well, you should save that.
God, it'd be great. But, of course, the guy that's earning $25,000 a year paying 15%, he'll pay the exact same amount he's paying now. Isn't that great?
But at least it's a perspective.
Sure. Oh, it's a great idea.
It's a simple, basic perspective.
Very simple, very basic.
You work hard
great
for
way
your money.
Come on, give me a break.
Hey, you work hard for your money. I work hard for my money. Whatever tax bracket we're in, it should be as good for you as it is for me.
Also, I love the idea of cutting my taxes in half, especially when all the rest of the people in the country pay the same amount. No, it's a fantastic idea.
I'm paying just what is fair.
Sure.
Now, I'm not going to say it's going to work, because we don't know if it's going to work until we try something. I think my idea...
Sir, we know it wouldn't work. I mean, come on.
Okay. Well, no, we don't. We've never tried it. We've never tried it.
No, that's because it is as bad as the SOPs are in Washington, they're not that cruel.
Well, they're pretty cruel. We'll have to admit that. I think what I'm trying to say is we need an idea that we can send somebody in with instead of something they're going to come up with after they already get there.
Yeah, I know, sir. We sent guys in 10 years ago with the idea of cutting the taxes for the wealthy in half. Look where we are today. And the next show that you were listening to, it was nothing like mine. Normal. Hi there, Norm. You're on the air at WLS. Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Fine, thank you.
One of the things that concerns me is that it seems like the fellows like Dan Rostenkowski are pretty well tax and spend type guys.
Sir, Dan Rostenkowski only decides how to pay for what the other people have already decided that he's got to pay for.
Well, he's the leader of the group.
Yes, sir. When they say we need $1.3 trillion this year, Dan, you figure out how to come up with it. Dan Rostenkowski his committee only figures out how to come up with the money that the rest of the guys have decided to spend.
Well, I don't know. I think he encourages them.
Yes, sir, right. He encourages them. He goes around and whispers in their ear at night, climbs into windows and says, yes, sir, you're right. That's how he does it.
Anyway, I think we're letting the guy off easy. Evidently he has no competition in the election in 2 weeks.
No, sir, we're not letting the guy off easy. The good citizens of his district have decided that's what they want.
Well, unfortunately, I have to suffer for their poor judgment.
No, you don't have to suffer for it at all, sir.
Yeah, he's the chairman of that committee.
Yes, sir, he's the chairman of the committee that must raise the revenue that the others have decided to spend.
Yeah, but he's got enough clout.
No, sir, he doesn't have enough clout to change the minds of 534 other men.
He can give them the evil eye and say, guys, I can't come up with it for you.
Sir, that is not his job to come up with it or not come up with it. His job, his committee's job, is to come up with what the other people tell him they have to come up with.
Yeah, I don't know. Every time I hear him talk, he doesn't sound as pained and anguished about it as I'd like to hear him sound.
Well, what can I say, sir? Off it is to Alsip. Hi there, Alsip. You're on the air at WLS.
Hi, Bob.
Hi.
I'm afraid that most of the people that are calling in are sympathizers with you, but we're probably a year or so off from the majority of people waking up and seeing what you have predicted is already happening.
I don't agree with you. I think we're 3 to 5 years away from that.
Well, we might be. I spent...
Let me tell you why, if I may.
Okay, sure.
I'll give you all the time you need, I promise.
Okay.
But I can tell you the hour of the day and the day that the Great Depression ended. It was at approximately 12:31 in the afternoon of December 28th, 1932. At that hour, at that minute, the greatest bull market this country has ever known